My grandmother was ingenious. I'm Joseph. This is Input English. Today I have a story, a true story about my grandmother. It is true to the extent that I know the facts. There are a lot of things about her life I don't know. But this is what I do know. I know she was ingenious. This grandmother is my mother's mother. The grandmother is on my mother's side of the family. She was born in the Midwest of the United States in the 1880s. She grew up on a farm. She married a fellow from the same town, the nearby town, and I'm not sure where they lived initially, but eventually they bought the family homestead on a hilltop. She had her first child when she was 22. 4 other children followed. My mother was the youngest of all of them. The location of the family homestead, the home in which my mother and her siblings grew up on the hilltop, was across the hill from where my grandmother was born. So they could look across the valley from their house and see the farm on which my grandmother was born. In the 19th century, it was very common for children to be born at home rather than in a hospital. We did not live very close to my grandmother, so we visited her only from time to time. I remember visiting that house and being fascinated by some of its features. She had a basement, and the basement was very mysterious. It had a lot of things in it that looked pretty interesting. The house also had a clothes chute. That is, there was a trap door in one of the closets, and you could open it up, and it provided a direct path down through the floor into the basement. She had positioned a laundry basket under the laundry chute, and so when she was picking up in the bedrooms, she could just take the dirty clothes and drop them down the laundry chute rather than have to carry them downstairs. Now, as children, when we discovered the laundry chute, it became a great source of entertainment. We found that we could drop toys down the laundry chute and go down to the basement, and they would be in the laundry basket. This kept us busy for a long time when we visited my grandmother. That house also had a very large attic with a lot of stored objects that again looked very interesting to young kids. It was all very mysterious. One of the features of visiting my grandmother was her chocolate cake. But this was no ordinary chocolate cake. This was a very special cake that she made that was very different than all the other cakes that I had ever seen. As a child, I was familiar with layered cakes. I was familiar that you might have a cake with 2 layers and some icing in between. Those were common. And of course, most children love cakes. But the cake that my grandmother made was called a Dobos Torte cake. Dobos is the name of its inventor, a Hungarian named Joseph Dobos. In Hungary, I believe it's pronounced Dobos. This fellow invented this 11-layer cake. It had sponge cake layers that were very thin, and then they were stacked with layers of frosting in between the layers. But this was no ordinary frosting. It was a chocolate buttercream frosting, very rich, very sweet. Joseph Dobos introduced that cake in Budapest at a large festival in 1885. How the recipe came to the United States, I do not know. One could surmise that it came with immigrants. One could assume that Hungarian people who moved to the United States brought knowledge of that cake, acquired the recipe, and then duplicated it in the United States. At some point in the early 20th century, my grandmother in the Midwest acquired the recipe or a recipe for this famous Hungarian cake. She called it by its name, a Dobos Torte. During the Great Depression, money was tight. My grandparents had 5 children, so there were a lot of mouths to feed and money was tight. It was explained to me that during the Depression, my grandmother made these cakes and sold them, and that this supplemented the family's income to make ends meet. She became very good at making these cakes in her home. She decorated them with the same frosting. Everything was dark, rich chocolate. She discovered that she could ship those cakes because of the nature of the frosting. She could ship those cakes all around the United States as long as the weather was cool or cold. She did not ship cakes during the summer months because she knew that the cakes would just fall apart because of the hot conditions of their being transported in the mail system. But in the winter, she could ship these cakes. I don't know when I first tasted the vaunted family Dobos Torte cake. It may have been at my grandmother's house. That's very likely. Or it may have been at home if she had mailed one to us. I know that she occasionally would mail us one of those cakes. Even after the Depression, she continued with this small home bakery, but over time she scaled it back and eventually stopped baking cakes for other people. She had other recipes that she made, but the only one that we wanted, the only one that children wanted, was the Dobos Torte. When I was a teenager, my mom acquired a handwritten recipe for this cake from her mother. She made copies of that handwritten recipe and made sure that everyone in the family had access to this important part of our family lore. Because all the siblings had this recipe for the Dobos Torte cake, we each attempted to make it. My ex and I got our heads together years ago and made our first attempt at it, and it was a disaster. It was a very complicated recipe, and it turns out there were more ways to do it wrong than do it right. Subsequently, we made one that actually worked, and over the years, I may have made it 4 or 5 times. It's a big project, and it makes a huge mess. The last time I made this cake, it turned out the same as I was used to having as a child, but as we ate the cake, we felt that it was really too rich and too sweet for our taste. I developed the opinion that things that appear to kids, because they're very sweet and very rich, may not appeal to the same person later in life. That was my experience. My grandmother passed decades ago, as did my mom, so really there's no one available in the family to ask any questions about this vaunted family recipe. At this point, I would be very curious, how did she get the recipe? Where did it come from? Did it come from a friend of hers who had emigrated from Europe? How did this all come about? We do know that the Great Depression was a very strong catalyst for the development of this family lore. She needed to generate income, and this cake provided income so that she could make ends meet. As I look back, I smile and remember those days, but at the same time, I also recall that the last time I tasted that cake, it was too rich and too sweet for me. So I conclude that it was a fond memory, but I don't need to reproduce that cake in the future. I invite comments below, and if you like videos like this, be sure to click on this one next. See you soon.